Alright, back here again. For you guys, it could be half a second to a few days, but for me, it's probably been 2 or 3 weeks since I've been under this car. And I'm going to tell you, after I'm going to say that the place that I work is kind of dangerous, and I know better than to do what I did with this gas tank. So I'm going to tell you again, do not drill a hole in the bottom of your steel gas tank with a drill. That was really stupid, guys. Even though I was somewhat prepared, you can never be prepared for a flash fire. So I would definitely recommend not ever doing that. That was stupid. So this is one of them, definitely, you know, do as I say, not as I do thing. And I'll try not to be so stupid next time, because that really could have been dumb. You know, it could have ended a lot different than it did. So although it did work, it's definitely, I wouldn't recommend that for anybody. So the public service announcement out of the way. The only thing I've done since, well, whether it be part of this video or the next video, is I unhooked the, I think this is, it's either the power of the ground to the sender itself. It actually plugs in underneath the car and has a little thing that holds it up. It's not hard to get to on these A bodies. Most GM made these somewhat easy to get a hold of. And then, of course, everything comes down as one unit. Of course, as you know, the gas tank is empty. It's actually been empty for 2 or 3 weeks. And so the straps are not damaged, and they actually look really good. So I may reuse them, but I have a feeling with this 2.5-inch exhaust that's on the car, I'm probably going to fight getting this down. So I think I'm going to have to end up about destroying the straps to try to get this down. So I'm going to tell you here in just a second, it's going to get loud. So turn your speakers down when you see me get a hold of this impact. Noise alert. Yes, I lube those bolts up. I get earplugs in. I can't hear you. Alright, bolts are out. One strap is down. It'll be on my head. Now, you know what I didn't do? I didn't unhook the stinking rubber fuel line. That's gonna fight me. That was smart. Alright, don't forget to unhook the fuel line. Why, look, it's hanging from the fuel line. That was about falling off there on its own. What have I got here? That must have been the power unhook, because the ground wire is actually still up here. I actually hooked my fuel pump ground to that same line. Well, let me get some tools I didn't think about. I got a cat down here running on me. Luna, hang on, give me just a second. I think I'll take the earplugs out so I'm not hollering at you anymore. Alright, this will be that. Let me try that again. I always forget some mundane little thing that'll kind of get you. The tank don't weigh anything without any gas in it, so also be prepared. If you have to do this on a vehicle you obviously are not replacing the fuel tank on, like you're going to replace the fuel pump on something called electric fuel pump, keep in mind these things are going to be heavy. So don't think that you're going to hold this up if this thing's got 10-15 gallons of gas in it. The gasoline's what, 6-7 pounds a gallon? I don't remember what it is. So if you get you think you're going to manhandle it, I'm sure some of you can. I'm not that guy, but trying to get the right socket for this, and that's not it. Come on, give it a second. And that one's not it. So let's see. Maybe the one that's... No, not that one. Aha. I could put one of the bolts, the strap back in, and the bolt back in, or whatever, but I'd rather hold it up to my shoulder to fight it. I mean, it's so much better only having one hand to do everything. I can't forget to hook this ground wire back up, or my fuel pump won't work either. Or it'll hunt ground somewhere else, which we don't want. Alright, ground wire's off. I hope everybody's doing okay at this particular juncture in life. When I made the first part of this video, or however it comes out, we were all doing fine in America, and now stock market's tanked. This virus is, I guess, going to kill 7-8 million people, I guess. I don't know what's going on. Don't seem like important to me, but I guess living here in Kansas is not as prominent maybe to get stuff like this. We live in a smaller rural area. I'm not saying it's not, I guess I'm not saying it's not a big deal, but boy, it sure has messed up the normal lifestyle of stuff and people, though. I tell you what, we kind of are prepared for stuff. We're not killing the world by any means. I guess things good. There's still some left in the line, pre-pump. So I got the electric fuel pump back here, just above this tank. At Wheelbro 255, and that's where the pump in filter is right up there. So before I put the tank back in, I'm going to replace that fuel filter, because we all know it's, well, I know it's bad, because boy, baby was singing to me. There's one line off. That tasted good. Let's do that again. Actually, that was the return. This is actually the suction side. Anyway, I'm not trying to make light of it. I guess it's, you know, it's what it is. I still think this is kind of a setup to tank our economy and make certain people look bad, make certain people look like they're heroes or whatever. I don't really know, but I know that there are a lot uglier diseases out there, and I know this is, you know, probably shouldn't be talking about it, I suppose, but it's, you know, little towns like ours is the ones that kind of suffer through some of this stuff, because you think about places that are going to be delivering certain goods. Well, obviously they're going to go to the bigger towns first, and the little ones are the ones that pay the price. And it's kind of that way for everybody, I guess. Alright, don't need more gasoline. Now I got the suction side off. Trying not to do is tear these up too bad. What I just told you I was going to do it to not be so unsafe. And what do? I drag a dripping steel gas can across the concrete, trying to make sparks. All right. What I want to do is let me grab you, kind of take a look at what's going on. This is basically what this thing looks like. I bent this one up, I think, here a while back. This is the return on anything, I don't remember what year, but it was pretty much around the emissions time, so I can't remember if it was 74. I don't remember what year it was. Prior to like 72, 73, 74, somewhere in that range, your cinders on your older tanks would generally only have one, and that was the feed line. You didn't have a return vapor, because this is actually part of the charcoal canister that would have been part of the emissions control for its time. This is a 76, so this is why it has a return line, but not all of them do. That 65 Mustang, for instance, I just replaced it, the cinder in it here about a year or so back, and it just has the one feed line. And if I'm not mistaken, it only has the one feed line. It may have had a vent. You know, I don't remember now. I guess I'd have to re-look at it, because maybe it's been 2 years ago. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is, this is the wire that I unhooked, which makes it easier. It's just to snap together. You know, had a male and female end on it, and so I'll have to unhook it from here. And then this is the ground wire, which actually just is a push-on, you know, deal, and then it was bolted to the frame. To get these apart, I may set you up and show you how to do that. Generally, you clean these off. So if you're replacing an in-tank fuel pump, make sure this is completely cleaned off before you start beating. You don't want that, you know, any more of that garbage in your tank that's already there. So let me get some tools together and I'll bring you back. Okay, I know that's partially in the sun and partially not. It's kind of what's doing today. What I'm let me just set that aside here before I lose it. You really need to use a brass punch, and I have one right up until I go hunting it, and then I can't find it. So I'm not sure what happened to it. You know what? I may still have something brass-like anyway. See what we got. Well, I used to. Like normal. I can't find it. Anyway, basically these are a lock ring. I'm not cleaning this off because, like I said, it really doesn't make any difference at this point. Get the ground off there. I don't remember if this I think it's just pushes on. Yep. That's all that is. This is actually for the gas gauge. Is what this is, and this is the ground for it. So I need to keep these because they're important. I'll lay them up there and forget about them until I got the tank back in. All right. So it's just, you know, it's like a bolt. Clockwise locks it, counterclockwise unlocks it, and that's what these little tabs are for. You can't do it all at once generally, so take and give it a tap on one side and go to the other side. You'll see these things, like it's actually starting to deform, and I'm not even getting on it that hard. Obviously, if you have gasoline stuff up here, you don't want to beat on anything steel to steel. You need something brass. So once that unlocks, you'll know it. The ring comes out, and this thing comes off. And this actually looks good. But what you don't see, this is open-ended, and that's the problem. Because there's supposed to be a sock on this, and without that sock, you're pulling up whatever's in the tank. So it doesn't even have to be a lot of rust, but if this sock is missing, you know, you're really asking for it. So it's O-ring. They all supposed to have them. I'm looking in this tank. This tank looked really good, so I probably destroyed it for nothing. But like I said, 230 bucks because it was unknown. And I probably should have took it apart first and looked at it and just ordered the cinder, because the tank actually looks pretty good. And I do see chunks down there, but I'm not seeing it like rusted out. Where you'll actually see most of your rust will generally be on the top or anywhere the gasoline line. Like if it sat, like I told you, this car sat for 7 years, and so of course there's going to be where the gasoline sat at the bottom. If the gasoline didn't turn to tar or, you know, varnish, it'll usually stay decent. You may have sedative in it, but it usually stays decent. But where you'll get your the rusting is above that. So because you got your alcohol in the gas and you got air in there still, and so that ends up rusting any of the rest of the steel. Is usually what happens. Diesels don't seem to rust as bad because they have oil in them, but the diesel can go crappy, pretty bad too if you leave it set for many years. But I've seen them start 20, 30 years sitting in a field and the thing will start and run. I've even seen gasoline do that some. It'll run great, but it will run. But anyway, so kind of pick your battles on this. This is something I probably should have pulled the tank, but I assumed it was the original tank, and the whole thing was going to be garbage. I don't see that. I don't see that sock in here anywhere, and it has to have a sock. Otherwise, you're just picking everything up. But it also explains something else. Once I drop below half a tank, if I went around a corner to one direction, it would actually, you could hear the pump scream like it was starving. And that explains it, because that sock actually hangs down a little further and collects that gas because it holds it in, so that you don't have that. And the sock actually lays clear at the bottom of the tank. In theory, that's what it's supposed to do. So without that sock there, well, I'll tell you what, let me go get the new sender and I'll show you the difference in what it looks like before I put it in the new tank. Let's see. That's not it, that's the straps. Hang on, I'm hunting the box. Oh, I see the part. I took it out of the box. That's right. My wife threw it in the trash. Saw it was missing in the house. That's what happens when you leave stuff laying in the house. Okay. Now this one actually has three pipes coming out of it. That really doesn't matter. In my case, I'll just what I'll do is I'm not sure if they were planning on like a future, something future in there, but this is a return side. Now the problem with going through this thing, it's almost like a diffuser, and it really aerates. It could aerate the gas. So actually, it'd be better to hook it to this, but it's not the right size. Where you can actually add a piece of hose or something like that, or some type of a fitting on there. And I could possibly get that off there and make that work, and go further out in the tank to where it's not aerating it so bad. But anyway, this is the sock I'm talking about, and that pipe ends. It looks like it ends like right here in the middle of the sock. So if you figure that sitting down in there, this thing gets sloshing around without that in there, because this kind of holds gas in it to a certain extent. It's obviously gas is made to go in it, but anyway, this is what the new one looks like. And I'm actually going to put this back together, since you kind of saw how that come apart. Going back together is the exact same way. You need to lube that O-ring with I use grease. Oil would work too, just to make sure that when that thing is turning, that lock ring, or you got to move this a little bit, it's not pinching or tearing that O-ring up so you have a leak. Because if you fill it up, clear up with gas, sometime you'll either see it or you'll smell it most of the time as you're moving. It gets sloshing around if that's got a hole in it or it's leaking or whatever. So make sure you do that. But that's it. You can kind of see the difference between them. And but basically, I can't remember what this thing cost. It was kind of expensive to me. I think it was 60, 70, 80, 90. I can't remember what it was. But altogether, tank, sender unit, and straps were $230 or $40. I can't remember what it was now. But anyway, we're going to get on this and get her done. Alright, well, besides the train always making noise, well, at least need it to. I think I'm about ready to put this fuel tank under her. Let's see here if I can get her picked up. Push it on the concrete, because it's, like I said, it's either been painted or coated with something. I'm not really sure what. It looks almost like a powder coating, but it came from Taiwan, so I'm not really sure. I got all the lines on that needs to be on.
I hope I don't regret not putting that 3/8 line on the tank side instead of putting it on the filter side. But I've got the wire on for the power. I got the wire still on for the ground. I took a 1/4 inch piece of hose and basically I put a bolt in the end. It's not gonna have any pressure on it, and then clamped it on both ends. And then I put a new 5/16 return because I had that was the only hose that really bothered me on this car, was that return hose was just the old rubber hose that was on the car. I believe it was. Now the 3/8 line, they had none in town, and they had regular fuel hose, but they didn't have fuel injection hose. And then it dawned on me while I was under here, the suction side does not need to have, I don't think, as much. I mean, it is pulling more, but not enough to suck it shut. I think even a standard fuel line. So I'm using the one that's in there. So if I do have a problem, that's probably where it's going to end up being. It's just that supply line between the tank and the filter, which is only about 6-8 inches at most. So it's somewhat accessible. So not concerned about it. But I got everything put together. Let's see if we can fight around these straps. And I know I'm just going to scratch this thing up. So it's just going to have to happen. These things don't bend. They're actually bolted. They got a screw that runs them inside this deal, so they just don't fall out like some cars. You can actually, they're kind of just wedged up in there with kind of like a C or an S bend in it, and it'll stay up on its own. But these aren't that way. Scratch that new paint. These are not that way. Hope I don't kick it, but I likely will. Alright, like I said, I got this wire run off the side. Can't forget to do that. Hope I wasn't in your way. You're going to get smacked in the face here in a second. Now the creepers decided not to move. Let's see. I think I'm just going to let this rest on me like I did before. Actually, the old one rested on the exhaust a little bit better. I don't have enough to put that 3/8 line on there. I kind of wish I put that hose on the tank now instead of up there on that filter. I put a new filter and stuff like that on it, and I just put the other hose on the end, the suction side, like you know, because it's just what you normally do. And I didn't think that through. I didn't think that through. What's holding the other end up is the fill hose is actually on a piece of the frame rail. The hose went on there easy. I just don't know if I get the clamp on it without fighting it some. So it's pushed up against there with the straps. I am just not sure. You know something I'm not seeing? I swore these were supposed to have some type of a, almost like an insulation deal between the steel tank and the bottom of the floor, so that it doesn't squeak, rattle, move, stuff like that. I'm probably going to have to get my jack under here, because I don't think I'm going to be able to hold that up and bend that strap back where it needs to be. It doesn't appear. Plus I still got to get that ground wire on there. And if it sits right there on that, I could probably do it. Wonder what this gas tank tastes like. I have a funny feeling I'm going to figure it out here in a minute. Trying to hook the ground wire back up to the frame, to the chassis. Maybe I better say it that way. It's not actually to the frame. have my light under here, so I'm trying to find that. Hole where that bolt just went. And it's a small, like I said, it's really small ground bolt. I got it started. See how it's having the right. You know what? I think I did have the right socket on there. Alright, ground's hooked up. If I can get this hose clamped where it belongs on the 3/8 feed. Now the 5/16 I just shoved up in there. It's still hooked to the tank, but at least I can maneuver it into where it belongs because it actually still goes to part of a return. It was like a hoop that was kind of set up to hold the line up from getting caught in the. And you know what? I didn't get near enough of that. Wow. Something I didn't think about. I can't even hook it up where it belongs. Yeah, that figures. That's a fail. That stuff's kind of expensive. You know what though? I think I got some. Let me bring you back. I'm gonna have to change that hose. This isn't gonna work.